And we're joined by the man himself, the man behind the store, Dougie Knight. Hello, sir.
Hello, I do.
It must be a very, very sad week for you.
Yeah, it is, but we're glad in a way also because it's come to the end of a lease and a renewal with an increase would be out of the question. It's not really sustainable even now. And we no longer have the ability to compete against the big stores with the pop material, which is the bread and butter, really.
Yeah.
And they're buying at a price which we can't. They're buying, not selling, buying at a price that we cannot have access to.
Yeah.
They make a deal with the company. The company no longer have any loyalty to independent retailers. So it's no longer what I would have called private enterprise.
Yeah.
It's monopolism.
Night's Emporium here is pretty much the main stop, always has been for second-hand and occasionally new CDs. About 15 years now.
All right, of course, these little shops are so good for picking up those little gems that you can't get anywhere else. Have you picked up plenty over the years?
I have indeed, yeah. I mean, even today there's an old Concert Angels CD which I saw here about 7 or 8 years ago. Managed to miss it at the time. I thought it had been sold and just discovered it in one of Paul's back catalogue regions.
Right, yeah.
Over the years there's been like the occasional, as you say, just things that you've given up hope of ever finding.
Yeah. So you're a regular visitor to Knight's record store here?
Oh yeah, very much so.
Yeah. Many years would you have been coming from?
Oh, the last 15?
Yeah. And like some of the other people, you must have picked up plenty of little gems over the years here.
Many's a gem, yeah.
So what type of music would you be into?
I've got a very Catholic taste, like, bit of from Beethoven to death metal,
Right, okay.
and anything in between.
Yeah. And this shop caters for all that, doesn't it?
Very much, yeah.
Was it a family-run business, or did you yourself start it off?
No, my father started in 1922
Right.
in William Street, which is off Victoria Street, and then he moved to Victoria Street later in the 20s. It was a bicycle shop, bicycle business. He was a cycling champion and was seriously injured and went into business.
Right.
Then in 1930 he moved to Great Victoria Street, which was the shop that is now famous because I rented the rehearsal rooms to Van Morrison and his band, and a lot of other bands and music teachers and people like that. Then I left there, as I say, to come here about 41 years ago. So we had a bike business up until 56, I think it was, about 56, had really, the cycle business all over UK just collapsed.
Yes,
And I was, then I started to sell records about 51 and gradually made it quite a reasonable business by 1953. Started a record library 53 and did record exchanges and that sort of thing, and selling new stuff as well, which was all LPs.
Are you going to miss this place when it finally closes?
I am definitely going to miss it, but unfortunately the trade isn't there anymore, so it's time to move on.
All right, so how many years have you been involved in the store now?
I'm in 30 years now. I moved out of school directly into the shop at the age of 16.
Right.
Which means I'm now 46. Scary.
So of course, music has changed so much in the last 30 years. I mean, there wouldn't have been these CDs back then.
No, one of our biggest Christmases was the Bay City Rollers. And we were walking on the boxes of Bay City Roller CDs, LPs. And the other big one would have been Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. And then we did quite a lot with a company called TDK Blank Tapes. And the first video Christmas for the Blank Tapes, we had 4 pallets delivered outside the shop. And 4 pallets of videotape is an awful lot of videotape.
Yes, indeed, yeah.
So.
I do believe there's been a few celebs have come in here over the years.
Bono, they came in and got a lot of jazz and blues records.
Right.
And it came up to the counter, and I think it came to about £120 or something. And I gave him 10% off.
Right.
And Dougie went ballistic. One of the richest people in Ireland, you give him discount. So and then Jules Holland, whenever he's playing in Belfast, he would call in and pick stuff up. And James Galway called into the shop, it was a number of years ago, and said, I'm playing a concert. Have you heard of somebody called Elton John? And and then Barry Douglas, the local pianist, concert pianist, he actually recorded quite a bit of his documentary in the shop, going through records, and he's a big ABBA fan.
Really?
Yes.
All right. Okay.
So, which surprised me.
Me too. Yes.
But so it's interesting, you get different things happen every day. So I'm going to miss this side of things, but I won't miss losing money.
Right. Now, what about you yourself, Paul? What types of music have you been into?
Mostly blues and country, singer-songwriter, that sort of thing. I'll still enjoy going to the concerts, but I would still like to be involved in it a bit more. Yeah. Because I think it's great to keep live music going.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, and Dougie has been involved in running live music, jazz and blues for, I don't know, 50 years. Yes, so I'm just a youngster into this. Yeah. So
I mean, you do support local music in here, because I know I picked up a Henry McCulloch CD from here one time as well.
Yes, well, that would Nigel Morton is one of the local booking agents, is involved with Henry McCulloch, and that would it's good to. A lot of the local artists leave before they become big names. They leave their stuff in sale or return, and it helps everybody that their products on the shelf. And we take a bit of money, they get a bit of money, and people get to listen to the music.
Now, you mentioned Van the man there. Can you remember the first time you met Van?
He came to the shop and he was a customer, bought some things, and then he came and wanted to rent a rehearsal room for the band, and the attic, it was the large attic upstairs, and then he would come up and down and asking about recommending this, that album and that album. And then one day he said, I want to make a track of a blues number that would appeal to the general public, and we could sort of make it palatable, cut out a little bit of the subtlety, sort of make it more punchy, So he said, have you any numbers, any ideas? And I said, well, Baby Please Don't Go is great number, No matter how you do it, it would come over okay, So I wanted him to lend him the albums of Brunswick, I think, the LP, and he said, no, I'll buy it. I'll take your word for it. I'll buy it. So he took it upstairs and they played it, and then they worked at it, and he said, we got it, So I came up and listened to them playing it, and then he said so the guys were talking, and he said, we've decided we want you to manage the band.
Right.
And I said, well, that would be impossible. I said, a young family, business, and there are too many irons in the fire. I couldn't.
And you think you could have? Do you think you could have actually managed Van, or would it have been really difficult? Could you have coped with it?
Oh yeah, no, he was okay then. He was all right. He was very enthusiastic. He was just very, very enthusiastic. So then he said, look, could you recommend somebody or get us somebody, you see? So I got in touch with Leslie Mann, who was a bass player and singer, and he was the A&R man for Philips or CBS, Columbia. And Leslie came, and of course Leslie was a musician, jazz musician, a purist. His idea of jazz was George Shearing. He played with Billy White, who was a local pianist, bop piano player. So his bag was bebop, Charlie Parker and all that. And of course, when you heard Van, that he did not like it at all, you see, and he said to me, that's rubbish, that's rubbish. And I said, well, Leslie, I know it's raw, But I said, they've got the spirit of the thing.
Yeah.
You know, they've got the spirit of the thing. And that's what's going to go down with the general public. And I said, I think they'll go really well, you know. No, count me out. And he walked off, you see. So I said to the guys, you know, I'll have to think of somebody else. So the next thing, Philip Solomon, apparently, it was about 2 or 3 months later, Philip Solomon took them. And Leslie, in the mean, he came back then about a month later and he says, I've been thinking it over. And I said, well, you're too late.
Yeah.
Philip Solomon. So Philip put them out on Emerald,
Right, yes.
Botanic, you see. And then he took them on tour to the west coast of the States. And actually now, Van didn't tell me this, but a guy who was his saxophone player, he told me what had happened, that they got to the States and they did this tour and they did extremely well on the west coast. And then they were approached, or Van was approached, would the band be interested in doing a TV series of a young band, just a sort of fun thing, you know, a young band running around and meeting people and having laughs and so forth, you know. And he said the producer was not a pleasant person, put it that way. Van did not like him, and Van decided he couldn't go ahead with it. And the rest of the guys in the band said, you know, there's big money, but Van just couldn't take this guy, you know. There were a lot of things apart from that, you know, that I can't mention.
Yes, yeah.
But anyway, they didn't. They dropped it. They wouldn't take it. You know who it went to?
Who?
The Monkees.
I knew you were going to say that.
The Monkees.
Yeah.
The Monkees. So Van and the boys would have been that would have been their show. You know. And of course the band split up then after that. You know, he came back, and in fact he was here in the shop on a Sunday, about 4 or 5 days before he left to do Brown Eyed Girl in New York.
Really, right, yeah.
And Jim Daly and Van and another guy, I can't remember his name, 4 of us were sitting listening to music, drinking beer here on the floor and on cushions, you know, because we'd had a Sunday night concert, and I had an upright piano here, you see.
Right.
Jim played piano, and Van wasn't singing or anything like that, but he came just for the evening.
Yeah.
And when everybody had gone, we shut the door and we were sitting talking and listening to some music, and Van told us that he was offered this contract with Brunswick and he didn't know what to do about it. And we said, gee, you know, you've got to, you know, if you take the contract, I mean, if it doesn't go right, you've got the money, you know, and that's it. It's a foothold. And he was being accompanied by the band, which was, you know,
right, yes.
And of course Jim Daly said, Van, he said, you're mad if you don't take this, you know. So we anyhow went off. I was offering to give him a lift home. He said he'd had a few drinks and he said he would like to just have fresh air and just walk. So he and his friend left. And then at the end of the week, Jim Daly phoned me. He said, "Way, he's gone." You know? So I got to New York. So and prior to the last gig he did, I think, was Duke Boy Bonner, an American blues singer, guitar player, and harmonica player, and he was on at we put him on the War Memorial Building. George Chambers was promoting it with me, and Van at the last minute came along. She says, "I would love to sing on the bill." And I said, "Well, we've spent all our money, and there's a band, there's a blues band, and there's Duke Boy Bonner, and the place only holds 200, and we've no money." I said, "Van, look, I don't want any money. I just want to be on the bill, you see." So he sang with Jim Daly that night, and I gave him a few quid to buy drinks. I said, "Van, don't buy any drinks. You take them and buy the drinks for that, you see." So I said, "Embarrassing that we haven't got money to give you some money." So, but as far as I know, that was the last performance in Belfast before he hit the big time.
And you still see Van regularly?
No. I was on an autobiography, filmed autobiography, at Crawfordsburn Country Club. We went down. We had about a 2-hour conversation with Solly Lipsitz and Van and me, and which they'd obviously edit. And that was supposed to cover his early years, and then George Jones and people like that came in on the later And we had dinner. We had dinner a few days before in the down at the Royal Hotel in Bangor.
Yeah.
And then about 4 or 5 days later, went to the Croppersburn, had dinner there, or lunch there, and then the afternoon was spent doing the program.
Yeah.
And then we sat on afterwards and chatted and had a drink. He has been in here with his daughter when she was in her
Right.
teens. He brought her and said, "This is a man I'll recommend.
Yeah.
You know, do you recommend things you want her to sing?" From time to time, he's dropped in. You know.
Yeah.
Hadn't seen him for some time. He's sort of very open to ideas. You know, if you got any ideas you know, about such as a thing, and he used to sort of remember saying to him, Babs Gonzalez, who was a great bebop singer in the 40s. I said, I hadn't got any here. I said, so he wrote it down. And he said, get hold of Babs Gonzalez, because he did it. It was almost like rap, only much more interesting than rap, with a lot more sort of rhythmic variation, you know. And he would sing about the New York scene and the jazz people, and you know, I went down to so and so and I met so and so and he was blowing this and that, you know, and it's sort of all done hip. It was hip talk really in those
It
days.
sounds like the way you got the idea for Coney Island. I did this and I did that and I went.
He may have done.
He did
He did make a bebop record,
Uh-huh.
which was quite good. But I thought the musicians on it, not him, but I thought
Yeah.
the musicians on it weren't really up to it. I think, I mean, I would have, if I had been picking the musicians, I would have picked people like Alan Barnes, the alto player. He's a pure bop
Right.
alto player, and you know, people like David Newton, Bruce Adams, people like that. The people were a wee bit precise on it, you know, and he would have needed a bit more elasticity, I thought, you know. But he's interested in, and I remember he made an album with the Chieftains.
Yeah, I love
he
it.
did
Love
that.
the album,
He
yeah,
did that.
yeah.
And at first people said, "Geez, that's awful," you know. And then they were saying, "Oh, you know, it grows on you. You know, if you listen to it, it really grows on you." So he's very good he's very adaptable in this respect. You know. Jim Daly, before any of us really thought that he was any good, Jim Daly, the blues piano player, Jim said, "Believe me," he said, "Van Morrison is going to be very big." He says he's got real talent, you know. And we said, "Yeah, he's, you know, good." But we couldn't really. We heard him, and he was at that. You know, in those days, he used to put the microphone over his neck and bring it up through his legs and all this sort of thing on the stage and do all this thing. It might have been pre-Mick Jagger, but he was showbiz.
Yeah.
He did that at the War Memorial Building.
Yeah.
It was all, you know, it was all raunchy, you know, and he was great to watch.
So over the years, Dougie, as well, I mean, you've seen so many changes. I mean, obviously, when you started off, everything was albums were on vinyl, and then CDs eventually came in. Do you remember the first time you got a CD in your hand?
The LPs are easy to remember because 1951 was the first LP, which is classical, all classical, and then 56, the popular music started to come in, and there was really nothing in jazz available in Britain until after 56, and I used to smuggle them from Dublin, go down to Dublin, George O'Reilly's place, RCA depot in Dublin, and I used to go down the weekend and I had all the orders for all the stuff which was on what they call the Swan catalogue, an American catalogue. So I used to go up the Swan catalogue, order the stuff of George, and he would get it in, and then I would go down on the Sunday morning and then smuggle it back up because they weren't supposed to be sold in the UK, but by Monday midday they were all gone. And my customers, "You've got to get this before lunchtime, you know, in case customs and excise come in." So, but I mean, I probably didn't make any money out of it because it cost money going down and having a meal and one thing or another, you know. So it was, but it was good fun, you know. And of course, people were delighted to get these, you know, Bessie Smith and Henry Red Allen and Louis Armstrong and all these, you know.
And of course, it isn't just that shops big stores are selling the CDs and stuff a lot more cheaply now. People are also downloading music from the internet now. That must have a big effect on things as well.
Yeah, well, it does, but then you must remember that years ago, people taped music. They taped it on reel-to-reel records, they taped it on cassette. But all that did was stimulate the interest in music.
Yeah.
People wanted more and more music. And I remember reading about John D. Rockefeller, and his famous remark was, competition is bad for business.
Yeah, yeah.
You remember
Yes,
reading it?
yes, yeah.
I mean, that's typical.
Yeah.
So that all this nonsense about free enterprise society, it's not. It's a totalitarian capitalist society, and it will become more so. And it'll be centralized, and we'll have people at the top who will share all the spoils, and the people further down who will be hoping to get there and will be licking their way to the top, and the people at the bottom who will be on minimum wage, and that's the way it's obviously going to go. I think it really needs very strong trade union action. People to demand a share of the pie. Some of the best, because they've gone to the manufacturers and say, well, these people are selling at such and such a price, we can't match that. How come you're supplying them? So if we can't buy from you at the price that they're paying, how do you expect us to stay in business? And the manufacturers just say, tough. We want the market share. Tesco or Debenhams are able to supply that market share. So you can go to hell, you know. I'm sort of appalled at what's happening. I mean, I remember Peter Brand when Brands and Normans closed, but that was the beginning. That was years ago. Now we've had the demise of Bullock's in the Lisburn Road, great shop. He had the same problem. He found big stores were selling stuff at prices that he couldn't match because his suppliers weren't prepared to sell to him at the price they're selling to the big stores. So I would say now that people, when they go to these big stores, they should say, well, I see such and such an item, you know. Could I see your invoice for that? To see what price, I think whether you're making a fair profit and I should pay that price, because that's what they're asking of their suppliers. They're asking for the breakdown. So if they think their supplier is making too much profit, they say, oh no, we'll allow you to make such and such, you see. But no such privilege is accorded to the customers. And I think people should be much more militant about it.
So will you be sad on Saturday when the doors finally close?
I'll be gutted. No, very much so. Like, I mean, like I say, I've done a lot of business with both Doogie and Paul over the years, and I hope none of the other second-hand record shops take offence at this, but they are the best second-hand record shop in Belfast.
So when the shop finally closes on Saturday, will it be a sad day for you as well?
Will be, well, as I'm sure somebody must have mentioned, but that'll be the end of an era.